Good morning, good afternoon, good day, everyone. This is July's KMC Controls Stuck on a Bucket webinar. I am Fritz Wichern. You've seen me on most of these, so you should know who I am by now. Today I'm joined by Tim Vogel and Dave Bohlmann. We'll be talking about the KMC Commander platform. So make sure and stick around to the end. As always, we'll have somebody will get a Yeti cup, I think is our gift this month, but keep an eye out for that email. We'll go from there. Tim, it's all yours.
All right. Thank you, Fritz. Hello, everyone. If you don't know who I am, my name is Tim Vogel. I am the VP of Connected Solutions for KMC Controls. I first joined KMC in 2016. So it's been 8 years, and I've been a pretty close member of the Commander team almost ever since. And it's just really exciting to be able to be here with you guys today, and particularly in this context of the Stuck on a Bucket webinar, because one of the things that we really like about Commander is that it reduces the amount of time that you are stuck on said bucket with some of the technology that we give. And we'll talk about some of that. And the plan is to walk through a couple of slides, give a little context for anyone that may be new, some refresher for anyone that has already seen Commander in the past, and then we'll jump over into a live demo and really see it working and in action. Dave Bohlmann is with me as well. He is our VP of Technology. He'll be here to answer any questions that may come up in the chat, or to, of course, chime in verbally with any quips or whimsical whims that he wants to include in the conversation. So again, thank you, and we'll be going for about 20 to 25 minutes with content, and then we'll have time for questions at the end. So please feel free to chime in. All right, just in case anyone is new to KMC, KMC's been in business for over 55 years. We are proudly a made in America building automation and technologies company, and our mission statement is to provide innovative and intuitive solutions from responsive and supportive people. We take the responsive and supportive people aspect very seriously, and we try to, in many cases, over support our customers and products, because we know that when you guys are successful and our end customers are successful, we are successful. And then also we do that with innovative and intuitive solutions. And those two keywords there really play into a lot of what we do with Commander. We're always trying to push new boundaries and utilize new technologies while also making it as easy to use as possible. Traditional building automation systems can be very complex, and I mean, they're highly engineered solutions. What Commander does at its heart is to sit on top of those kinds of systems, but give that easy to use interface that's easy to access through the internet for any of those systems for any user. So with that, I do want to start off with this, and then I will end with this. We are going to have a virtual instructor-led training class. Our next one is August 28th through 29th, focused on KMC Commander. There's several things you could do right now. One is you could email kmctraining@kmccontrols.com. We'll gladly send you information. We have a 2-pager on the class, what to expect, the agenda of the class. Or you can go ahead and register right now using this QR code. Let me copy and paste this link into the chat as well. And you could utilize that to register. But if you are interested in this content, please join the class and see what it's all about. Get hands-on. The cool thing about our virtual training is you get remote access to real physical product, including a Commander gateway for this case, as well as a whole row of KMC controls that you really get to discover, that you get to bring in and profile and bring into then a dashboard. So you learn all of that. So please join. We'd love to see you there. I'll come back to this slide here towards the end, probably while we're doing Q&A. All right. What is Commander? I've already kind of mentioned it, but really what it is, at its heart, is a monitoring and control system that's accessible from anywhere via the internet, so you can look at data and interact with set points from anywhere. We interact with all kinds of different systems, primarily focusing on BACnet and Modbus, but we also just released a new Niagara Gateway service so that you don't have to have an additional piece of hardware to be able to add Commander to your project. I'm not going to be talking too much about our different methods of gathering data. They are a gateway, Niagara service, or a virtual machine. I'll be focusing more so on the Commander platform itself and the software piece. But by being able to utilize these open protocols or even the Niagara drivers, we're able to integrate to all kinds of equipment. So this isn't only a KMC hardware software solution. This is something that can sit on top of nearly any system that is out there, including now with the Niagara module, all kinds of other proprietary systems or systems outside of BACnet or Modbus, like a LAN system perhaps. The way that that works is you will install that local deployment method. This shows a gateway, and it communicates directly to your BACnet devices. So these are all examples of KMC devices that many of you, I'm sure, are familiar with. And anything from a general purpose controller to a FlexStat to the individual sensors, all the way into energy meters, anything that communicates Modbus. We also do a lot of API information, and I'll show you that here in a moment. But once we interact with that, the gateway then communicates outbound only to the cloud, and everything else is done from the cloud from there. I am going to walk through, once I go to the live demo, what it looks like in terms of a 7-step process of what to expect when you are deploying Commander. So we'll get to that here in a moment as well. But this is the general architecture. When you look at the overall architecture of the system, and I think this is what a lot of people will sometimes get confused about, as soon as you start talking about data layers and applications and APIs, it's like, whoa, I'm just looking for something to get me access to my system. It's still helpful to know this. So you have your device layers, which again, we could say are meters or lighting or HVAC systems. All that's going to be networked together. Probably some sort of IT level also integrated in. You'll add a gateway, and then that gateway goes and talks to our independent data layer, or where all the data is stored short-term and long-term. And then we sit our application on top of that. So what that looks like is this. We add that gateway. We communicate to our data storage servers on the internet, in the cloud, and then we sit our application layer on top. This independent data layer is important because what it allows for is those API integrations. And so now we can push data to other systems, or we can take data from other systems and bring it into Commander. I'll show some examples of that in our live demo too. But ultimately what that means is it doesn't matter what is local, whether it's a train system, a KMC system, or a Siemens system. You could have 3 different buildings with 3 different BMSs. We're not going to require that you rip and replace anything out. We're going to be able to sit on top and interact with those systems in one way or another, and then unify the monitoring and control of each of those systems through a single platform found at app.kmccommander.com. You get unlimited users. You get long-term trend storage, so all the data points that you're bringing in. We have some customers that have had Commander 6 years, 7 years, and there's 6-7 years of data in the cloud at their disposal. We manage and maintain text and email alert services so that it's very easy to set those up and receive those. There's cloud-based scheduling, so you can determine which devices you want to run at any given time, all from the cloud, as well as ongoing software and hardware updates. You don't have to manage those as well. And one of the things I like to say about Commander is you never have to go to your customer, or if you are an end customer, you never have to think to myself, okay, Commander 5.0 is out. Here's the costs it's going to be to upgrade, and here's the benefits I'm going to get. No. Every time you log into Commander, you get the latest and greatest of what Commander has available. And then from there, if you need more, and I'm using CopperTree Analytics here as an example, if you need fault detection and diagnostics or a broader energy management system, then via our API, CopperTree Analytics can be deployed without any additional hardware being deployed, without any additional integration being done locally. So it just makes it very easy to kind of scale out your smart building solution by just starting very simple. Very simple as in, I can see my data. I could change my temperature set points. I could change my occupied modes, and I can give my customers easy access to those systems as well. So that is pretty high level and fast paced overview of what Commander is. So let's switch over to the live demo now. Go ahead and refresh since this has been up for a bit. So as I said, all Commander projects are available at app.kmccommander.com. Anytime you start off with a new system, the first thing you're going to be sent to is this networks page. Now, this is where I'll go through that 7-step guide, and Dave has put this together for me. It's been very helpful just to talk about it in the last couple days. But the first thing we always say is, make sure that you're talking to IT. This is an internet-based solution with a gateway locally that requires access to the internet. And so making sure that you are talking to IT is going to be a good step in the right direction, a good foot forward. And you just want to make sure that once you do deploy the gateway or whichever method you use to collect the data locally, that there's not going to be any hassle. Next step is you want to make sure that even before you get to the site, you've already talked to IT, but you also want to make sure that the gateway is set up and ready to go. So because we're doing updates so often, once or twice a month, there's a new gateway update. It's always good to plug it into the internet in your office, make sure it's updated and ready to go before you take it out to the office. And you could also then license it. And so when you buy a license, you have to tell the gateway, this is the license I want you to use, and this is the project I want you to point to. And once that is done in your office, you can unplug it and now take it to the job site. Once there, you plug it in, and you've already talked to IT, and so you know that where you need to plug it in, how you're going to get the access you need. And the nice thing too is it's automatically set up for DHCP. You don't have to assign it a static IP. However, you could assign it a static IP if IT has told you to do so. The next step is then to make sure that it's communicating to all the services as it should be. We have tools in the setup that allow you to do that, and we walk through a lot of those when you take our training class. We also have some videos that go through that on our YouTube channel. And then next thing you're going to do is go to this page right here. So this is Network Explorer, where you're going to come in, you're going to configure a new network, you're going to select the interface on the gateway that you're using. There's 2 Ethernet ports and also Wi-Fi available. So how are you going to connect to that? Go ahead and make sure the UDP port is as it should be, and then hit save. And when you hit save, now you're ready to go through that discovery process. And again, you are on site when all of this is taking place. You'll click Discover, and then the Discover will start populating all the devices that it sees. At this point, if you are satisfied with the devices you're seeing, and I have all my VAVs, I have my flex stats, whatever it is, go ahead and add those to the list, and then now you can leave. So when we talk about not being stuck in a bucket for too long, that's exactly what this process is. It's making sure things are communicating to the cloud, making sure that you're communicating to the system locally. Everything else can be done remotely. And the way Dave puts it is you can sit at home in the office with any sort of beverage that your heart desires. And it's very easy then from this point to discover those devices, bring in the data points you're looking for, and then you could start to build those dashboards. So quickly, in the next 5 to 7 minutes, what I'll do is just do a very quick overview of once all these devices are brought in, and you have created the profiles and you've said, hey, these are the points that I'm looking for. Again, there's lots of documentation about how to do that. Now you can go to your dashboards. And your dashboards are really where I like to say the magic happens. How creative do you want to be? It's really up to you how you want to lay these things out. What I show here is kind of a series of different kinds of cards because I want to show the capabilities of what Commander's able to do. So I've brought in an image right here. This is a live camera feed of our office in New Paris. And so you can see here's our cafeteria. If you've ever been here, I'm sure it looks familiar. We give tours all the time. This is a weather card where we're utilizing API data from a public source to understand what the weather is like. It just brings context to everything else you're seeing. This is a gauge card. This is a custom card. This is another what we call a web card that I have brought in a live Google form into. So if you wanted to gather, let's say, support tickets, or you wanted to submit change orders or anything like that, however the end customer wants to use it or how your team wants to use it, you could bring that in here. This is a reports card, so when you use the reports module, you could then bring that in and see it. And you can see it in two different ways. You can see it in card format, or you can come down here and see it in a full wide viewpoint from end to end. These are basic KPI cards where we've also added some colors based on a scale that we get to choose. You can go in and configure that very easily how you want. How you want to see these data points based on your temperatures and the colors you want to use. All that's very configurable. But I think what you could see is that this is a pretty simple and basic dashboard. It doesn't take long to create these kinds of cards. So for instance, I can come up and add an instance and say add a card. And so let's say I want to add a thermostat card. So I want to control a VAV or a zone. I'd come up here, I'd select VAV 201. I could see all the points available to me from VAV 201. And in that center area, I want to see my space temperature. And then under that, I want to see my occupied mode. I'm going to fill in my cooling and heating set points. And if you only have a single set point, then you could just add a single set point and it'll only show one. And then I could come in here and add a few other data points here at the bottom, like humidity and CO2. And now I'm going to add this, and I have a choice. I can either add it to the top or the bottom of my dashboard. I'll add it to the top. And there it is. There's my new VAV card. And it takes the same amount of time to create a trend card or a gauge card very quick. And now, once this is done, I could come up and say, all right, we'll share this with someone else that is on my team. And I know Cody's here, so I could sign it to Cody, and I could give him write access, or I could share a copy of this. And now I'm sharing this visibility that I just built with my customer, with my teammate. Great way to democratize the visibility of the data, if you will. And once you add a user under settings, they're going to get an email. They're going to say, hey, you have been added to this project. They'll create a password, and then boom, they're going to be able to see exactly what you allow them to see. You could have multiple dashboards, so let's get a little fancier here. Here's an example of one where we are looking at a floor plan, and I've built in some heat map zones and some KPI cards underneath, along with a report. And so this is where now I can see floor plans. I could create heat maps. What if I wanted to look at something that is like a piece of equipment? I could look at an RTU. So here's my Daikin unit, and I could look at my VAVs and where my temperature is based on my two set points, my band there. And I could say, yep, looks like everything's good. Everything's within the band. I could embed a PDF and say, all right, well, here's a troubleshooting guide, or here's a data sheet for that rooftop unit. And maybe I have a camera that's looking at it or near it or at the access door that gets me to where I can gain access. Again, anything to help bring that information and make it real to you. And then I'll show you two more. We have a very basic sample dashboard where we've put together just 4 simple cards. We've constrained it to 4 columns of cards so that if I'm building this for a tablet, I know that's what I'm going to look at it on the time. I could just make sure it always looks the way I want it to look. And again, just make it simple. Or we can do what I've called here the fancy canvas, where I created a custom image and I then overlay data points on that image, which you can see here. And all of these are configurable points. I could change a set point to something like 68 and write it to the priority of my choice, and all that is tracked and monitored in the system. It's gateway initiated communication, so it's very secure. What I've also shown here is a couple of different integrations we've done. One is an API integration to this IoT device that is a weather station by a company called Weatherflow. They have a wireless solution, goes to their gateway, goes to their cloud, and what we have done is API integration from their cloud to ours, and now I can see the weather station that's coming from that. And then this is another example of an integration we've done, except this was a local API integration where they had this device. It communicates over Wi-Fi. They have their own protocol that they use, and we built a driver into our gateway so that this device points to the Commander gateway, and then we bring it up to the cloud just like we do any other device. So this again shows how we can be flexible. We can work with customers. We can work with you to make sure you get exactly what you need, the data you need, what you're looking for. And I'll just jump through these last couple. You could create these schedules. When do I want things to run? And when it does run, what devices do I want to use while it's running and after it's running? Do I want to set it to something else? Do I want to relinquish it? Do I want to do nothing? All of this is can be built, and you can mix and match your analogs and binaries and multi-states all into a single schedule configuration, and then drag and drop when you want that to run. You could select any of these and edit them or delete them, change when they repeat. Just make it very, very easy and simple for you to use. Trends. This really shows you the capabilities of bringing in all this data and how you're able to overlay it. And you could overlay it into a single chart, or you could have 3 charts like I've laid it out here. But then you could pull up information from as long as you've had Commander. So here you could see CO2 levels over the last month. You can see humidity, the same thing. Outside air, the same thing. And if I wanted to, I could pull up a whole year. And the nice thing about this is like I said, we store it long-term and short-term. It's all accessible. It's all accessible through the API, but it's also all accessible here by just saying, now I want to download this CSV in the current view, and now I could download that however I'd like and put it wherever I'd like. And it just shows up in an Excel document, which you could pull up. Alarms. We try to make it easy to configure and not only set up, but also manage your alarms. So you could see here I had some CO2 alarms that happened earlier this month. I was up over 1,800 parts per million. You could see that I was notified in 2 ways, both by text and email. If I wanted to, I could click on this and it'll take me right to the time when I was having all those alarms take place. I could back up and see again this kind of information. And if I wanted to and say, you know what, I'm just going to go ahead and acknowledge these. When I acknowledge it, I could say, fixed the issue, hit continue, and now you can see that I acknowledged it. You can see when I did, and you can see what the message was. And so while it's not really a CMMS system like some people may expect, it's not a work order system, anything like that, it is a pretty easy way to manage those cloud alarms, to write the notifications on what you did, to fix it, to make sure that the right people were notified, and then to acknowledge and once fixed, move on. Last thing I'll show just with our time constraint here is the settings. This is where we're going to kind of fine tune some of the ways that the system communicates, especially around BACnet, how often you want to pull data, but also this is where you set up users and you can create roles. So again, unlimited users. We have some projects that have 2 or 3 users. We have other projects that have 150 users. So it really depends on what your needs are. Once you set up all your different roles here, what do you want them to have access to? Do you want them to see dashboards only, or dashboards and alarms, or dashboards and trends? Or maybe you only want them to see dashboards, but from a read-only standpoint, so they can't change any set points. Very, very granular on what you want to do. Further, you can give them access, and then you could say, well, Brad Green here, I want to give him access only to a single device. So he could have admin access, or maybe dashboard, schedules, trends, and alarms, but he's only going to be able to see that for this singular device, and we could change it from there. So that's where if you have customers that have their own office, you can give them access to their office only, and you don't have to worry about them seeing anything else or being able to see alarms, for instance. Highly flexible. And then lastly, and this is really important when we talk about troubleshooting and the whole kind of idea of being stuck on a bucket, when there's an issue, and there's going to be an issue, and someone's going to say Commander's not working, or this device didn't shut off, or this schedule didn't run, Action Logs is your friend, and you're able to see everything that takes place, both from a user and what the system is doing automatically through something like schedules, or if you wrote for a particular timeout time and then it relinquishes that point. And you can see here, these are all things that I have done today during this demo, when I acknowledged those alarms, when I changed the set points, when I created a card. All that information is here, and you're able to see that and look. And if you ever need help, we have a helpful tool right here that says, here's all of our documentation. You can search it. There's videos that are embedded. So if you want to learn about trends, there's the trends video. All that's accessible to you, easy to access anytime you have questions. Okay, so with that, I would love to see if there are any questions. If you haven't typed anything in the chat, navigate my way over to that. I'll also bring up our training information so that you can see that.
I haven't seen any questions come in on the chat, but
that's okay.
Does happen.
Yep.
Happen to have one posted out there.
We do have one.
Well, if anybody does, throw it out there. Yeah.
That's okay. So, again, I'll just talk a little bit. If there are any questions, please fill them in the time being. What I'll talk about is where Commander fits. One of the ways that we've seen Commander really shine and be successful is with smaller sites, sites that don't require a ton of different points that you're bringing in. And, these are going to be sites that are 250 points brought into Commander and less. Excuse me. And that's just kind of where it's landed, because those are the sites you can go in, spend a short amount of time in the MDF room or wherever it is you're deploying the system, and then bring in those points very quickly and turn something over in as little as a day. There's been some cases where maybe there's a larger site, but you're talking a day or two, and you're able to turn it over to a customer. They have their dashboards, and then maybe you could fine-tune things from there. Another thing that a lot of our customers will use this for is for service contracts. So, hey, if you sign a service contract with us, you will also get access to this cloud-based system. And now it's a way to make that service contract a little stickier and that relationship a little more in-depth, a little deeper in how you're able to interact and the benefits that you're able to give. All right, I see a couple questions here. So I see hardware price. Is there a cost for the cloud service? There is a cost for the cloud service, and that cloud service is based on the number of data points you're going to bring in. It also depends on exactly what your relationship is with KMC. And so if you reach out after this, my email address is tvogel@kmccontrols.com. I'd be happy to take a look at what your system integrator is set up as, and I can provide you any pricing that you have. It is an annual license, so it's a software as a service, which lends it well to folding into your service agreements. And the smallest point package you could buy is 100, and we go all the way up to 10,000 if you have a larger site. We do have plenty of larger sites. I don't want to leave those out. We work with several school districts, one of which has several sites that are in the 5,000 and 6,000 point range. Maybe 4,000 or 5,000, but still, it's a lot of points. You bring them in, and the platform does just fine. I see another question here. Can you touch on point licensing? Oh, okay. So yeah, there's that. How point licensing really works, though, is any single device could have, let's say, 150 points on it. A VAV controller, for instance, you're going to bring in typically about 10 points. You're going to look at temperature, maybe airflow. You're going to look at damper position, set points, and then any other thing that may be coming off of that net sensor. An AHU, maybe you're going to bring in 15 to 20 points. So again, our typical Commander project size, like if you were to look at a super majority, it's going to be under 750 points. But it is annual licensing. Has there been any consideration for an app? So if you go to the App Store, you will see an app. What that app is essentially just a web browser. But what we tell our customers is just use your web browser. Go onto your phone, go onto your tablet, either on Safari or Chrome, save that to your homepage. Honestly, that's going to give you a better experience. It's just what we've experienced. Part of that reason is because those browsers are updated all the time with the latest technology. The app that we had published many years ago just simply isn't updated nearly as much. And so just use the web browser. That's going to be your best bet. And also, anything that has a web browser has the capability of adding it to your, thank you guys, adding that to your phone. Can we get into the site remotely via Connect through the gateway? So the gateway does not act as a VPN. It does not act like a Tossie box or something, or like a cradle point. All it does is act both as a proxy for the cloud and a proxy for the BMS. It's really just a middleman that allows you to access Commander and then change set points in the cloud, which the gateway then goes, downloads, and closes its port. So that is a security feature that we have built in intentionally. We have talked about maybe adding some feature in the future that would allow you that remote access through, with a tool like Connect. I haven't done it yet. What we have found oftentimes is IT departments, when we go and talk to them, they have their own method and means that they would prefer, that they are already managing for their networks. And so we would say, go and talk to them. Again, it's just, it's the more friendlier solution for those end users. And with that, guys, we are at 12:30. Please reach out if you have any other questions. Happy to set up any additional overview to dive deeper, to give you more of the live demo, or maybe even to set up a demo at your facility. Would love to be a part of that. Thank you very much. And Fritz, I don't know if there's anything else on your side from a housekeeping standpoint.
We're good.
All right.
Y'all keep an eye out for the next one. And thanks for joining, Tim and Dave.
Thank you, guys.
Have a great day.